Salam and good evening to you, worthy friend. Please, please, come closer. Too close, a little too close.
Welcome to the nation of Israel. So in this presentation, we're going to cover like how Israel was created and the government structure and the religion and some conflict and terrorism. So let's begin. Come outside. Okay. So how did Israel come to be? So basically, British assumed control of Palestine under their League of Nations mandate, and that evaporated, and they left the area. And then there were a lot of displaced European Jews after World War II and the Holocaust, and they really didn't have a home. So the Zionist movement, which was dedicated to the establishment of the Jewish state in the Holy Land, to give a place for Jews to stay, was able to overwhelm Arab resistance and UN efforts to fairly divide the mandate into two separate states. And the state of Israel was established, and after that, there were a long series of wars with their Arab neighbors, under which the Jewish state continued to conquer territory and expand.
All right, so why can Israel be considered a separate civ? And there are many reasons for this. And one of them is, that Israel functions much, much differently than other civilizations. And so one of the main things is that there is no private or public distinction. Everything is important on a national level. Nothing is personal. They all make the choice to make everything, higher up in, importance. And that ends up being, with the government in international affairs. So another amazing thing that separates Israel is that Israelis have a very strong sense of national pride and personal responsibility. So the national pride, obviously they love their country and their nation. They want to do anything they can for it. And the personal responsibility comes in when at that national level something goes wrong. At that point, the Israeli people, because of that personal responsibility, they blame themselves for that issue, that mess up, and then they work hard to fix that issue, which is very important and something that really sets them apart. So one of the big questions is, how is Trump and his administration, his presidency, going to affect Israel? And so there are multiple hopes and some things that, are wanting to have happen. And so Israel hopes that Trump will help with settling and expanding certain areas like Beit El. Beit El actually used to be very run down, very unpopulated, but now that Trump has come in and started, working back up relations with Israel, Beit El is getting repopulated, and it is starting to have, more structure, more civilization, which is helping it advance. Another hope is that the Trump administration will help aid Israel in advancing as a nation. And like I said, because of Trump helping, with the relations and the rebuilding, that is going to advance Israel. The other thing is that Trump administration will bring back peace and good relations between Israel and the US. A little background, Obama did not have that great of, relations with Israel, and Trump does. And so that's going to bring about peace, and we're going to have some friends.
Okay, so the next question was actually researched, and the slide was made by Alex, who couldn't be here to film today, so we're taking it for him. But just keep in mind that he did all the research for this and made the slide. So what is Israel's governmental system? Israel's governmental system is actually very similar to ours. It's a parliamentary democracy, which is what sets it aside a little bit, based on their basic laws. And they are, in a way, the Constitution, but rather than having a set of kind of a blueprint for how the government should run, it's a set of basic laws that the government has to always have, sort of checks and balances between the three branches, saying what powers they have and saying what rights the people of Israel have. And their government is broken up into three different branches, just like ours: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And their legislative branch is unicameral, and it consists of the Knesset, which is essentially their version of Congress, which is basically um, like if you mashed the House of Representatives and the Senate together and called it the Knesset and made it Israeli. And the prime minister is the head of the executive branch. He is democratically elected, and he has most of the powers that a president in the US would have. Israel also has a president, but it's kind of a ceremonial position and doesn't have nearly as much power as the prime minister. The prime minister gets to appoint cabinet members and uh, basically offer the last word on Knesset rulings and laws that they're putting into place. Finally, the judicial branch is a little separate from the legislative and executive, just as it is in our government. Um, it consists of the attorney general and the court system, and its job is basically the same as the court system in the US. It's to uphold the basic laws and to provide checks and balances to the other branches of the government to make sure they don't run wild and out of control.
I see your mic. Shoot. Okay. So the next section that we are going to cover is the religion of the Israeli civilization. And we came up with three subsections or questions to cover. So the first one is, what are the different religions of the Israeli civilization? And a main thing about Israel is that religion is a central feature to the country, and it plays a major role in shaping the culture and the lifestyle and the everyday activity in Israel's life and in its history. According to a 2011 study, 25.2% of the civilization was Jewish, 20.6% are Muslim, 2.1% are Christian, 1.7% Druze, and then the remaining 4% belong to minor religions that aren't as well known, or no religion connections, or atheism. And then we can see from these figures that religion, no matter which sect, is highly important in the society and culture. How do the different religions of the Israeli civilizations interact? Religions, for the most part, are respectful towards one another, but there tend to be some conflicts and tensions between specific groups. For example, between Jews and non-Jews, Muslim and Christians, mainly because of their different beliefs and traditions. They tend to have some tension between them just because of their different beliefs. But the state of Israel generally respects each religious group and gives them the freedom to jurisdict matters of marriage, burial, and divorce. And then, again, they respect other religions, but each group tends to be distinctly separate from each other and from the world. So how has religion shaped Israeli civilization? It's basically shaped it from when it began thousands of years ago. So in ancient Israel, the religion was largely based on Judaism and Christianity. And our knowledge of this is based off of the Hebrew Bible, which was written many, many years ago. And it's kind of like their history of their country. And the first known mention of the name Israel was in reference to a people living north of central Palestine. And this country was ruled by the ancient King David. And after his death, a rebellion broke out between the people with different beliefs. And those people broke away from the kingdom of Jerusalem and Judah. And they moved to a new area of land. And they created a new and stronger state, which is now known as Israel. And throughout the hundred of years, prophets of different religions have challenged the social, moral, and religious standards of the civilization, and over time this helped Israel shaped into what we have today.
Okay, so now we're going to cover how Israel is traditionally viewed by other nations. And as you can see by this graph, it's not very good. Israel is one of the world's least popular countries by far, and surprisingly is disliked globally nearly as much as Iran, Pakistan, and North Korea, which, unless you've been living under a rock, you know those countries are not liked very much. The United States is literally the only Western country with a favorable opinion of Israel, and that's changing. Um, there are a lot of pro-Palestine views actually in the United States now that are gaining sway, and Israel soon might be viewed negatively in the US as well. Interestingly, though, almost the only other country in the world that has a favorable opinion of Israel is Nigeria. And this is because in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, Israel came in and helped Nigeria to become a more developed country. And they actually have a lot of business and infrastructure that they put there to help them along. And to this day, Nigeria has an embassy in Tel Aviv, and Israel has an embassy in Nigeria's capital. Anyways, this negative view globally of Israel is largely due to the Israel-Palestine conflict, which I'm going to talk about now. So the Israel-Palestine conflict and terrorism are kind of hand in hand in Israel. So a little background real fast is that Jewish Zionists have been taking land from Palestinians for more than 100 years. And the Palestinians have often retaliated violently, which led to the Jewish Zionists retaliating violently again. And generally, when violence is met by violence, it leads to heightened tensions. And there are acts of terrorism on both sides of the conflict. Traditionally, they have been caused by pre-existing tensions. But as the Israeli state has developed into a more full nation, they have been more political and military actions, either by Hamas, which is the governing Palestinian body of the Gaza Strip, or by Israel itself. Neither of these governing bodies are really clean in terms of this conflict.
And that is our presentation, and here are our sources. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye!